I'm about to hit 50,000 followers on my writing account on Instagram, and I'm gaining about 1,000 a week. I'm going to show you how you can do this as well, and show you tips and tricks that I've learned over the past 4 years of running social media accounts. That way you don't make the same mistakes I made when I was first starting out. Now, I've seen a lot of guides on YouTube on how to grow on Instagram, and a lot of them just seem kind of incomplete, and they always have this kind of instant success kind of vibe, like, oh, if you just do my one tip, you're instantly going to get 50,000 subscribers or followers or whatever you're trying to gain. And that's really not the case. There is no formula that will get you 1 million followers in 1 week. Growing on social media takes time, and it takes effort, and you have to put a lot into this. I'm going to present tips and tricks that make it easier and make it a lot faster and more efficient. If you follow the strategies I'm presenting here, you are going to experience a lot of growth, and you'll see a lot more success than if you didn't do these tips. So the first tip is that you need to give people a good reason to follow you. It's really important that you understand that your followers need to be gaining something from your account. I know this sounds really obvious, but you'd be surprised the number of people don't do this. For example, there are tons of art accounts that just post a few pictures of their art every once in a while and expect thousands of people to follow them. That's probably not going to happen because these people don't have any reason to invest in your art. On the other hand, if you're posting techniques, or maybe you're posting time lapses of how you made this art, they'll be a lot more likely to follow you. For example, my account is a writing account, as I mentioned before, and it provides a community for people to interact. It also provides people with inspiration when they're feeling down, and it provides them with a good laugh with writing memes and stuff like that. The second tip is to brand your content. Make sure that you have specific colors and fonts picked out for your account. And once you have these things picked, you should stick with it for at least a year. I change every once in a while, but I want to make sure that my followers, when they see a specific color or font, they think of my account. As an example, here's the stuff that I use whenever I post something on Instagram. The third tip is that you need to watermark your content. Just put your Instagram handle somewhere in the post, so that way when people screenshot it and inevitably repost it, your brand is right there, so that whenever people look at that, they can see, oh, this is actually from this account, and they can go search your name. The fourth tip is something you've probably heard before, but it is very true and very important, and that is that you need to post every single day. I know that's not easy, but it's something you're going to have to do if you want to be successful on this platform. My personal recommendation is to post once a day on a regular feed post, and then also once on your story up top. Quality is of course important, and you don't want to sacrifice that for quantity, but the best case scenario is you posting frequently and you posting good content. I know it's hard for some accounts to post every single day, and that sucks, but there are ways to make things work. For example, if you're an art account, maybe instead of posting just your art, you can also post pictures of behind the scenes, how you produced it, that kind of stuff. That way you're getting more mileage out of just one piece of art. And if you're a writer account like I am, you can maybe post your poetry, but also talk about how you chose your rhyme scheme and stuff like that. That way, again, you're getting more mileage out of one specific piece of work. Another simple tip that people tend to forget is to keep your follower ratio clean. An account with 10,000 followers looks really great until you look and see that they're actually following 16,000 people. Most people assume, oh, they only have these followers because those people follow them back, and that's not what you want. Ideally, you should only be following a few dozen accounts. For example, my account up here, you can see my follower ratio is really good. But if you're already pretty deep into your account and maybe you have, 6,000 followers and you're following 8,000 people, I would recommend at least leveling them out so that you have an even number of both. Before we get into the second half of these tips, I just want to remind you that you need to have a purpose with this account. Are you wanting to influence people for the better? Are you wanting to spread positivity? Are you wanting to get your artwork out there? Or are you trying to get a following so that whenever you publish a book, you have a lot of people that are ready to read it? Whatever your reason is, keep that in mind and make sure you don't forget it in this constant grind of, making sure you're posting every day and you're using the right hashtags and all of that stuff. The sixth tip is kind of controversial, but from what I've seen, it really shouldn't be. There should only be one way you do this, and that is hashtags. Some people say to only use 5 to 7 hashtags on your posts, and I'm sorry, but that is not correct. Instagram allows for 30, use all of them. And I know it seems like spam, but the best way to do this is to write in your caption and then below it in a separate comment put your hashtags. The reason is Instagram does not penalize you for having a lot of hashtags, and the more you have, the better your chances of trending on any one of those hashtags is. Here are 2 posts of mine, one of which has 30 hashtags and one of which I only used 5 or 7. As you can see, one of these did really well and one of them didn't. And that's because it had 30 hashtags and at least one of those was trending. Whereas in the 5 to 7 hashtags post, it just didn't have as good of a chance to get on the explore page. So the 7th tip is also a little controversial, but I think it's a pretty good idea if you make your account a business account. The reason this is you have access to extra features like analytics, and also people are able to email you, and you have access to a few other tools that a regular personal account doesn't. But really the most important part is that you have key insights from those analytics that allow you to adjust your posting and see what's been working and what hasn't been working. Here's just a glance at some of the insights that I get from my posts from being a business account, and you can see why it would be really useful for you to do the same thing.
Okay, so I figured I'd just show you guys real quick what you can get from the insights in about 30 seconds or so. Just a quick tour. Here you can see all your content and the things you've posted. You can see your best posts of all times and how they rank according to different categories here, and then you can see your stories, kind of the same thing over the past 7 days. That's as far back as stories go. And then under activity you can see just how people have interacted with your account over the past week with profile visits and website clicks and other stuff like that. And then you can see how many people have been reached by your account over the past week and how it compares to the previous 7-day period. And then you can do the same thing with impressions, of course, and kind of see which days you've been doing the best. And then under your audience, you can see a little bit about demographics for your audience, who's following you, and that really helps me shape my memes. Basically, if my age range was a lot older, I probably wouldn't do as many memes, but since I have a younger audience, I can afford to do that, and they'll actually understand them. And then you can see which times of the day are best to post because of how active your followers are. So overall, it's really useful, and I would recommend it for anyone that's trying to grow their account.
So the 8th tip is to have interactive stories posted as often as possible. Make sure that you are engaging with your followers using the polls feature or the new quiz feature to do like a about the administrator kind of poll thing, or of course having Q&As or the little rating slide bar. Use those as often as possible, because the more that someone engages with the post on your story, the more people that your story is shown to, and the more people eventually come back to your account. And this whole process kind of just drives engagement, and it's really useful. And also it's a really good way of just creating a kind of fun community in your account. So the 9th tip is to vary the type of content that you post on your page. Obviously, it goes without saying that quality content is probably the most important thing of making a successful Instagram account. So I'm not really going to go into that, because you know that you have to make good content to succeed. But something that most people don't think about is that you have to make different types of content to succeed. For example, if you post only the same type of thing every day, day in, day out, people are going to get kind of tired of that and lose interest pretty quickly. I personally have about 4 or 5 different formats that I cycle through that keep the account interesting, and every once in a while I'll throw in something else in there that they've never really seen before. That way when people come to my account, they're scrolling through the tile listing, they can see there's a variety of different stuff, and they know they're going to get a lot out of this account and not just one little thing that I do over and over again. So the 10th tip is something that I would think I wouldn't have to explain, but for real, just be respectful of people on the platform. Make sure that you're tagging people if you repost their content. Never ever scrub someone else's watermark off. Reply to as many followers as you can when they ask questions or when they send you DMs, that kind of stuff. Just interact with people and make sure you do it in a respectful manner, and people will continue to come back to your account, and it'll build more community that way. So those are the 10 tips that I think are most useful for building your account on Instagram. Try not to get overwhelmed by them. I know there's a lot, but just keep in mind, you don't have to be doing all of them all the time. For example, I personally don't have time to post every single day. I try to as best I can, but usually I end up about 5 to 7 a week. I'll post a specific video on how to get your first 1,000 followers and a strategy that I use to accomplish this, but for now keep these in mind as just guidelines by which you can run your account. And as kind of a bonus tip, here's my last suggestion. Make sure that you're having fun with your account. If you don't enjoy it, and it's kind of just a grind and you're not really having fun or interacting with your followers, there's no point in doing this. So make sure you keep in mind, have fun, and then like I said earlier, keep your original purpose always in mind. Remember, why did you start, and continue using that as your driving force behind the account. Thank you for watching. Feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like if you gained some knowledge from it. If you want to, send it to someone you think could also use the information I present in this video. Thanks again, and I will see you in the next video.